So, Feast of Nations 2024, who's happy to be here? Shabbat Shalom. You know, every time I hear Shabbat Shalom, I think to the first time ever I heard Shabbat Shalom, it's from a lady that's actually part of our fellowship, and I was just getting my feet wet in this, and she said it to me, and I said, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. It sounded so Jewish, but now it's absolute treasure to me. You know, it makes me think of Hosea 8:12, where Hosea, writing to the Gentiles as us, he said, I've written awesome things in my Torah to Ephraim, but he considers it a strange thing. And that was maybe, I'm sure many of y'all can relate to that it was strange. You know, I remember probably 7 or 8 years ago, my wife and I first started wading into this new walk. And she had visited a friend, a family friend, minister up in Tennessee. And she calls me, when she and I have been debating, she always wondered what happened to worshiping on Sabbath. And I said, well, that's an interesting question, but you know, long as we're worshiping, I didn't care about that. But she called and said, oh, she was so excited, weren't you? She said, they're worshiping on Sabbath. I said, that's awesome, love, that's just incredible. And she said, they don't, and they're not eating pork and shrimp. And I said, when? Calm down. And Father, forgive me for what I said to her next. It was, and if I cry, which I'm sure I will, my Bishop McCall, they make fun of me all the time. I cry on my hat. Yeah, but real men cry, but you agree. When Wendy said that to me, I looked at her and I said, or on the phone, I said, Wendy, don't get caught up in that garbage. Oh my goodness, Father, forgive me. Now that garbage is treasure beyond measure to me. What he's done, giving up things that I grew up with, compared to what he's done and what he's promised me in the next life, especially, is we can't even fathom it. He has blessed us beyond words. He has turned our life upside down. You know, before I come to know him in this walk for my whole life, I was a Pentecostal, a Seventh-day I was close to the Lord, as many know where I loved him. I knew his word and stuff. But since when I learned the only way he has asked us to show him love, that was the veil of my temple was tore top to bottom. It was a whole new day at that point. And just like his word says in John 14, it said, if you love me and you keep my commandments, I will manifest myself to you. And has he not done that? You feel him closer than ever before, day and night. It's just incredible. But anyway, I just love right there. Y'all met Wendy already. We normally get up here and speak together as a team, but Wendy, if she's not here, she's got her notepad a lot of times writing down all the mistakes, everything she would have corrected about everything to get on to me later. And every once in a while she'll put a compliment on there and stuff. I think the record stands at 1. And, I think it was at the end it said I love you. I think it was the compliment. But Wendy and I, we have a ministry, like Chris said, Vineyard Skills International. It's based in Africa, mainly Kenya and Liberia. And we thank Chris and Brandy for taking our nonprofit organization under their umbrella. And Chris, thank you so much. I don't know where y'all are. Thank you so much for the well work you've been doing. That's just been incredible. And it's a great blessing too. But our ministry is there. And today we're just going to share some of the stuff that has been really life-changing to us. We know that not everybody has the ability to do what we've done, to travel, to take time. You might have large families, there might be sickness, things that you can't do, but you may have a heart to do that. Or you may know someone that might have a heart to do that. So that's what we ask today, is that you just listen to what we're doing here, what we've learned and seen with our own eyes. And just keep it in mind as we relay what we do today. Love. Yeah, I got. Yeah, I say no. If you see, if there's something that I miss out, feel free to just throw it at me and stuff, just in case. That way we cover all this. Okay. Oh, Father, you are incredibly awesome. Will you excite us not only with our salvation in Yeshua, but what we find in your Torah? We thank you for that. We thank you for your living Torah that walked among us, your written Torah. Just so many awesome things that you've given us. Thank you for your feast, your Moedim, all of them pointed to our awesome Messiah, your Son, Yeshua. Thank you for those gathered here today and this week and all over the world that are celebrating and honoring this last feast of the season, Sukkoth. Thank you for your feast. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for opening our eyes to truth. That you over each one of us has a story. And thank you that you stayed with me long enough to realize that I might not have been born into the perfect denomination that had perfect truth. And the knee-jerk reaction is to defend what we've been taught our whole life. Thank you for showing me the errors of my ways and opening me and my wife and friends up to you, the awesome truth in your Torah and your word. Father, you've asked all along. You've made provision for the poor. And you said it like James 1:27, true religion undefiled before God the Father is this, that we take care of the widows and orphans and keep ourselves unspotted for the world. You've always had a heart for the poor. You said that the poor would always be among us. And you're watching what we do, each one of us, how we deal with the poor, not only locally, but domestically, in our country, and overseas. What do we do? You have blessed us beyond reason. Help us, Father, to have a heart to do your work. Blessed are you, our great King of the universe. Thank you today for this opportunity to speak at the Feast of Nations today. In the name of our awesome Messiah, Yeshua. Amen. You know, I was thinking about the feast and what I was saying earlier. I've loved apologetics my whole life, and I consider the prophecies of the Old Testament about who Jesus would be, who the Messiah would be, is also proof that Jesus was the Messiah. But the way he fulfilled perfectly the feast, they all pointed to him. And when I learned how he fulfilled perfectly the Passover, Yom Kippur, how he was our high priest that did all the work. It was incredible. Everyone was outside on Yom Kippur. They had faith in the work of the high priest. Who's got faith in their high priest today? And we still walk in that every day. Thank you for that forgiveness. We just had Isaiah 1:18. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. Though they be as like crimson, they shall be like wool. That's just a beautiful thing that we've all experienced. We've already introduced Wendy Lee, so just a little background on me. I was raised IT. I spent IT work on my IT engineer for a local hospital most of the time, and then we went to Africa, and we were changed. So we worked for a nonprofit organization, and for a little while, then COVID hit, and then I had to find something else to do. And so now I work in the solar industry, like industrial solar. But our ministry is a huge deal to us. This morning, we want to come to you as a voice for the poor of the world. But I'd like to ask you one thing first. In your opinion, and think on what I'm asking you, who are the poor of the world? What defines poverty? And where are we as Torah-observant believers in the Great Commission? Today, there are 8.2 billion people alive on the earth. Who remembers when there was 7 billion people? Who remembers when there was 6 billion people? Now you're starting to age yourself a little bit here. But you can see that in relatively no time, it's skyrocketing. You know, Yeshua himself came before the first billion people were here. So he really came at the perfect time in history. 1 billion of these people on the earth live on less than $1 a day. Isn't that crazy? $1. 62% of the earth's population lives on less than $10 a day. 62% of those 8.2 billion. 45 countries worldwide are still categorized as poverty nations. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, for every dollar a poor person earned, the wealthy earned $4. Let's fast forward to now. Today, in 2024, for every dollar a poor person earns, $90 is earned by a wealthy person. That is a huge canyon of space. And you know, Yeshua said that the poor would always be among us, but the poor compared to now is incredibly different than what it looked like to him. Some in our governments around the world feel like maybe immigration is a solution to help with the poor. People immigrate to our country. And we were going to show a great demonstration of that today. And we're going to get, if you write it down, I don't know if we can share it, but on YouTube, there's a video called Poverty and Immigration Explained by Gumballs. The guy gives a gumball demonstration, and it shows how futile using immigration to help is. And if nothing else, it makes the problem worse because the people that can immigrate out of these poverty nations are the better of the nation. So it leaves them even in worse shape. So anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there whenever you see immigration and how many, and he actually does a great comparison showing how many the United States is, and it's just not even a drop in the bucket to what is needed in the world. And we realize there's a huge problem out there, but we want to talk about that today. Wendy and I, in 2015, we made our first trip to Africa. Many of you know, at the time, we had a small business. It was called The Perfect Pickler. Who's got perfect picklers out there? Oh, good. But she's done a couple shows, demonstrations here where we talk fermentation and stuff. Where we had that. We've since sold that business to Zach Bauer. Everybody knows Zach Nudator. He has that company now. Well, we were called there to teach fermentation. This center that we visited in Kenya, they were showing people how to grow lots of food, and they can grow food like crazy. But they don't have refrigerators, they don't have power like we have in the good old America. So they needed a way to preserve this food. So they sent letters out to like 20 or 30 people, companies that did fermentation, and there was only one that replied back. Wendy, she opened that letter, I think she bought the ticket before she could talk to me. But it was incredible. So we agreed to go there. There was a miracle in how that all, we don't have time to get into it. But we go there, and when we get to Nairobi, we went with Wendy's brother, who was also a pastor. He has a pastor in Brayton, Florida, and he has lots of ministry in Africa, India, all over. And so when we landed in Nairobi, they wanted him to speak in their churches. We had multiple churches vying. We were going to be there on Sunday. So he had to agree to one, and they said, do you have anybody else? And Steve said, well, I got my old brother-in-law with me, Dave. And I am not a pastor. And I felt kind of weird about it, but they were really wanting someone to speak. So reluctantly said yes. So we go there and we'll say, all right, you can pick us up at the hotel, and we'll go to this church that you asked us to. So we get in the car. We go to the church. I don't know if you've seen on the video, do you know where the church was? It was in the middle of the Kibera slum outside Nairobi. And just the drive there was eye-opening to us. God, at that point, was already had us in heart surgery compared to the life I had my whole life. We drove in there and got as close as we could. We're not even on roads. We're kind of going through alleyways, through trash and people everywhere. There must have been, at the time, there was 5 million people in Nairobi, and I think all of them were walking on the street that day. You know, at that point, you know, I knew I was no longer in control when it comes to protecting my wife and stuff. You know, in America or in Florida, if somebody messed with my wife, I just brought my pistol to shoot her. There, I was defenseless. There was people everywhere if something went wrong. I could handle maybe 10 or 15 at once. But, you know, it was just, we were entrusting God at that point. We were in a place that I'd never been, and I had no idea was going to be there. We get out of the car, we're wearing nice clothes that's probably less than a year old, nice shoes, and we immediately stand out as fish out of water. You know, compared, everybody around me had clothes that looked like the thrift store in Goodwill. No one had bought them, and they gave them and sent them off. And they had tattered holes in them and stuff. And I'd never seen that poor. You know, when they looked at you, you could tell this is what they were looking at when they saw us. When they see white people there, you're smarter than them, and you've got money. You've got knowledge that they would never have, and you've got money. That's all, you know, that's what they see. And, you know, we walked about 100 yards through this alleyway that smells like interstate bathroom the whole way you go there. Urine and saturated dirt, garbage everywhere. They don't even try to pick up the garbage, they just leave it there. And they walk us to this small little church building. It was actually like a little shop. It was probably almost the size of the stage. And then they start treating us like kings. They walk us up front. They were awesome people. Their heart was so loving. They walk us up front, and then I get up and I speak for a while. Useless words. You know, I wasn't Torah observant at the time, but I do remember talking to them about giving. And what I told them was, my main point was, even in Nairobi, even in the slum of Kibera slum, that if someone has a heart to care for somebody else, God sees them still. Would you agree? Yeah. He's, even in the worst situation, He can bless them above their peers. And that was my message. But, you know, as it went on, we got through, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I walked outside, and this young lady was preparing a meal for us on the dirt. Her hands were just dirty looking. Flies were blowing the food. So I went to the bathroom, and I come back and I told Wendy, I said, I don't know if you want to eat the food. Did you eat? I don't know if you did or not. I ate the food, and oh, did I pay for it. I did not feel comfortable for 5 days, I think, without being able to see the bathroom. And, you know, it's like we say, when you gotta go, say it with me. You gotta go. It was horrible. But, you know, at the time I was wondering, well, you know, what can I say to them? But, you know, looking back, God, that was for Wendy and me. That was my presentation of what some people live in. And like I say, I love to tell people, we in the West, we had no say in where or when we were born. We just popped up here in blessings beyond reality compared to 90% of the world, like you see of our stats. But he did heart surgery on me, and I was never the same after that. Among the poor, there are those who actually die from hunger. And I want to put that into perspective. How many people died from Hurricane Helene so far that they know of? Do y'all know? 250 something, I think. It may be climbing. Yeah. How many people died from Katrina? 1,392. How many people died in the 9/11 attack? 2,977. That's a lot of people. How many moms, the mothers, die in Africa from malnutrition daily? 400. Every day. And that contributes to a steadily rising number of orphans, which they put at 54 million in 2020. How many children die from malaria daily? 3,000. How many people died in the Holocaust? Most people know 6 million-ish. That's an unbelievable number. But did you guys hear about the people, the 25,000 that died yesterday? Did y'all hear about it? 25,000. 25,000 daily die from starvation and now malnutrition. Every day. And we know these stats and figures, we're aware of a lot of them, and they're daunting in their size and scope, and the natural reaction is to think, what could possibly be done about it? Well, that's what we want to share with you today, is what we feel God has each of us do ourselves. And I'll get into that a little later. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to give you a moment to think about it. In your opinion, how do you define poverty? What do you think poverty is? Raise your hand if you feel the definition of poverty is based on what you have or don't have. Like most people in the West, most people put poverty as what they are lacking, what the poor people don't have. But that is our opinion. They did a survey years ago. This is recorded in the book Voices of the Poor, where they went to impoverished nations and they asked the poor people, how do they define poverty? Do you know what they said? It never was what they were lacking. To people that are not in the West, poverty is psychologically based. And this is absolutely true. We've seen it, and I'll share some stuff. They have shame, low self-esteem, humiliation. They feel depression, unworthiness, trapped in without hope, like there's no end to it. Is that true, though? Is that what God looks at them as? Is that how we as Western people should look at it? Because they are. They're incredible. Studies in time have shown that giving handouts, sacks of food, putting wells in, it actually causes harm, as it makes them feel more like they are not capable of providing for themselves. They'll always look elsewhere. The real truth is, just because they were born where they were, does not make them less a child of God or that they don't have abilities. They were uniquely created by God to serve purpose, just like we were in America. They have their own gifts and talents, which you will hear about. They have a unique calling that is their own. God sees each of them. He's a one-on-one God, would you agree? Same with us. It's like when my son was growing up, he heard stories, God adventures for me. And I told her, I remember the day, I said, son, Hunter's his name. I said, Hunter, God will deal with you one-on-one, just like he's done anybody. You'll have your own one-on-one time with him, which is a beautiful blessing. The true definition, or the root cause of poverty, is at the base, broken relationships Broken relationship with the Creator, broken relationships with each other. There's no unity. There's a broken relationship with oneself, the self-image, the past traumas, and also with the earth. In Romans 8:19, we read where creation is waiting for the sons and daughters of Elohim to rise up and take care of the earth. Many of us feel that way already, but many do not. We must see that all of us are suffering from poverty in some way. I'm going to describe a people group to you. You tell me if you recognize this group. As a rule, they deny God's existence or act as though He is irrelevant. This group has a broken relationship with the creation. They are not typically lazy. They are actually known for being workaholics. This group is notorious for its self-centeredness. They often don't even know the name of the person living across the street. This group has a broken relationship with self. That broken relationship is rather a sense of pride, of superiority, which I can relate to when I was a father. Forgive me. Oh, my computer is restarting. Do you have your phone with me? Who loves Plan B? She's following. I told you she's following along with me to make sure.
We got your back.
Okay. This group believes that they are uniquely anointed by God to bring their superior culture and wisdom to save the rest of the world. Any idea who this group of people is? You might have guessed it. It's us in the West. The West generally has that mindset that we are better because we have so much when we compare to a lot of other people. And we struggle. Who would agree we struggle with unity, even amongst our own fellowships and Ms. McCoy? Father, forgive us. Time and studies have shown that we need to focus on people and processes, not projects and products. We need to build relationships. Focusing on people and processes creates empowerment that ignites movements to go beyond projects. Movements that produce long-term lasting change. I want to give you an example of this, something I've seen with my own God-created eyes while I was in heart surgery. When we went to Kitale, Kenya, we went to the Thrive for Good Training Center, and they had just hired a new cook. And of course, Wendy, being cook supreme and administrator, she's going to work with Valerie. And so she spent some time with Valerie, and she comes in later. She is distraught, like the worst thing ever had happened to her. And I'm looking at her like, what happened to you? She was full of tears and could hardly talk. I will never forget the look on her face. I said, what is wrong? And she said, Valerie, the cook, she just told me what was going on. Wendy, I guess she could see the distress on Valerie's face. And so she starts talking to me about what Valerie said and how, her life was in shambles. And actually, I didn't want to go into this, but Valerie had almost killed herself and her family because it was so bad. And the only reason she didn't was she didn't want to kill her kids and then it not work on her and her have to live with it. Isn't that terrible? We can't relate to that kind of despair. But I look at Wendy and I'm thinking, cold-hearted as I was, I said, Wendy, she is a drop in the bucket to what is going on here. I mean, nobody has anything. But Wendy just, you can tell that her heart was being just tore apart by what was going on. So we started working with her. We started what paid for her school. She was behind on school fees. But then, rather than just giving her money over and over again, Wendy started working with Valerie. And Valerie was awesome. She had a great business mind. She was a go-getter. She was not a sit around and just moan and not do it. She had just signed up for that job. And so we started working with her. And now, when she has a thriving business with in Tyson, 2 locations, this phone company that she's she's got a Shabbat group of widowed women that come in every week to hear the Torah. And Valerie was a Catholic. If we had just gave her money and flew back to America, she'd still be Catholic. She wouldn't have a Shabbat group in there. If Wendy had listened to her husband, me, there would not be a Shabbat group there. She would still be Catholic instead of walking with our Messiah like she's doing and being a light to the community. Isn't that incredible? But that was one woman. Was that?
She's helping all the other single moms in her group get self-employed and on.
Yeah, she's taking them under her wing. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. But that shows you it was that relationship. People don't care what you know if they don't know you care. And that's what Wendy had a heart for. And Wendy, you probably considered her your best friend today, or one of the top 3. I mean, this is just incredible what this woman has done. And what she's still doing is just exponential what she's done. You know, she wasn't happy to be successful herself. She's taken others under her wing. We got another video. Do you have that pulled up? Okay. Go ahead. One of the ladies that attends Valerie's, it was a Mary. She was also in a desperate situation. So Valerie, we got the guy that did some training. I'll let the video explain it. So go ahead and cue that up. This woman attends Valerie's Shabbat. Go ahead. Is there a sound? Yeah, start it over.
I still have the script on my phone. So can we pull it up real quick?
Please do that.
Give me 1 second to pull it up. It may not match exactly what goes about it. All right. So if you start at the very beginning, I'll start the script. Is it not playing? Come on. It's not playing. No, oh. I see. I think there's technology demons. Okay, here we go. Meet Mary. I had the privilege to visit her in her home in June of 2023. She had 9 children in the home, 8 of them her own, plus her 14-year-old daughter had a baby as a result of rape. This is Mary's home. The door is inadequate to keep out weather or rodents. Her son's shorts are too small to zip up. She lacks the funds or even used clothing. They eat a bowl of porridge each day for their food and sometimes have access to fresh fruit when in season and growing where they can pick some. I can't. It's scrolling. It says scroll. And I was behind. Okay, let's try it again. Maybe I can change the pace. I just want to go again. Okay, this is her kitchen and storage room. Her cooking fire is made by grouping 3 rocks together. In town, they sell charcoal cookers, but that isn't an option for Mary, as she would have to have money to purchase charcoal. With the 3 rocks, she can just use sticks from the woods. Unfortunately, not long ago, her young son tripped and fell into a pot of boiling tea. We're almost to that picture. Mary's children, yeah, there it is. Mary's children are not in school as she doesn't have the money to send them, even to send them to public school. When we look at Mary's situation, we see what she doesn't have, the lack of material items. But for the poor, they express their situation differently. They express it from a psychological perspective. For them, it is about shame, humiliation, defeat, and depression. Every time they try to improve their situation, it becomes worse. They feel useless, trapped. Some even feel like garbage that should just be tossed out. Is there really no solution for Mary? We could collect donations to send to her, but would that really help her? Her feelings of shame and the embarrassment of not being able to provide could potentially just get worse. And how would a temporary handout change her actual situation? We began to pray for Mary. We put her children in school for 1 semester to see if she could find a job. Without an education or phone, she was unable to find a job. Then a friend who had a technical school for teaching girls trade skills offered to let Mary attend their cosmetology school for free, if we could just help her with the transportation to and from school. Her cosmetology program was 6 months long, and during that time, the children finished their semester and were home again. A missionary happened to find the children at home, being cared for by the oldest daughter. The missionary was able to obtain a scholarship for Mary to enroll her children in a missionary school. She only had to purchase uniforms and books. We helped Mary with these expenses until she graduated from cosmetology school. After completing her training, it only cost $200 to get Mary a business license and some basic supplies. Here is Mary in her new salon. Mary is now providing for her family. She has joy, peace, and a sense of accomplishment. She has no need for handouts. Mary's story is an example of how we can work together to formulate a plan to bring a person to a place of self-sufficiency. Mary's story is a powerful reminder of the impact that can be made when individuals come together to support someone in need by providing her with the opportunity to learn a trade, access education for her children, and start her own business. Mary was able to transform her circumstances and create a better future for herself and her family. And now they are helping the other ladies in their community, so it becomes a movement and it just starts multiplying. So thank you to everybody who helped us with that.
So you see, it's not about trying to tackle the 250,000 or that died. Okay, just working one-on-one and letting it grow from there. God, I believe He's watching. See, He expects us to deal with the poor that He puts in our circle of influence, not the world all at a time. Would you agree? You know, growing up in the Sunday church for most of my life, which is what I did, like many of you, I focused on the New Testament, and I did not really pay attention to anything in the Old Testament. Yeah, but we love our cherry-picked Old Testament verses, what we call Old Testament back then. Jeremiah 29:11. Everybody knows we love that verse. If you've got Facebook friends, especially Sunday Christians, they love the cherry-picked Psalm 23. We love Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. That's correct. Psalm 1, many of us, every Shabbat, the wife will say, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked. And we love those Psalms. Now, looking back, I consider all the Tanakh as important. And the Psalms. I can see so many things in the Tanakh that I can tell God inspired those words. Who would agree Isaiah 53:5 is inspired? Isaiah 7:14, Isaiah 9:6. To us a son is given, and his name shall be Wonderful. I mean, he's awesome beyond words. Psalm 119, we're all familiar with that. Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God. We know that David was speaking by the inspiration of the Spirit. I want to read a psalm to you as a Torah observant believer. And I'm going to ask, you may recognize it, but I'm going to ask you, do you believe this is true for you? Blessed is he, words of King David, that considers the poor. The Lord will deliver him in time of trouble. Is that true? The Lord will preserve him and keep him alive. And he shall be blessed on the earth. And thou wilt not deliver him into the will of his enemies. The Lord will strengthen him on his bed of anguish, and thou wilt make all his bed in sickness. Do we believe that? Do we believe that God sees our heart? And when it says considers the poor, he's not, I don't believe he's talking about, when there's a special need, and then you finally give a little bit. He looks inside, and he knows if your heart is for the poor. Are you willing to sacrifice much of this life for the next, taking care of people in the blessings that we've been given? We consider this life as just a step. After we came back from Africa, it was not about what all can I get out of this life. How many are over 100% sure that there's going to be a next life with our Messiah? Isn't that an awesome hope we have? So we can sacrifice. I was telling a friend just the other day, they asked me, because when I work for Tampa Electric, in their utility solar department, and I don't work on Saturday. As a matter of fact, they had everybody work it was Yom Kippur. And I said, man, this not only is it a Sabbath, but it's the Sabbath. It's Yom Kippur. And so I said, I talked to my boss, and he said, I'm not going to tell you to take it off. He said, just don't show up or something. But I told that guy, I said, when you are willing to give up 1/7 of the rest of your life, God knows you're serious with it. Would you agree? That's a sacrifice when you consider life. 1/7 of the rest of your life that you can't just, we could choose to. But out of love for him, we set that day apart from the other 6 that we work. And it makes us special treasure. And with me, honoring the Sabbath was the gateway drug into his blessings. Have y'all ever felt that way? It was the start of what have I been missing my whole life? But I just wanted to read that song to you and just have you consider, do you believe his words? Why did Yeshua come? Many of us know that he said he only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the ones scattered over the whole earth. We know that he scattered Israel over to every island on the sea. All over the world, his lost sheep are there. And they need to hear this gospel. The Spirit of the Lord is on me because he has anointed me to preach good news to who? The poor. Yeshua is the creator, sustainer, and reconciler of everything, as it says in Colossians 1. And through him, to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross. And as the song says, he came to make his blessings flow, far as the curse was found. Over the last 100 years of missions, we described in air. It focused on personal piety. The church mainly, it had people trying to live a pious life, and not really, the less fun you can have, the better Christian you will be. But building churches and then leaving them with their social problems has only hurt. If Yeshua's ultimate mission was reconciliation, how should we, as his hands and feet, facilitate the ministry of reconciliation, specifically for the poor? We believe it's by addressing the root cause, broken relationships. Walk with the poor as equals, working together for lasting changes, not giving handouts, but assistance in reaching goals for self-sufficiency. Our training center in Liberia has the potential to train 40 plus villages per year in how to be self-sufficient with growing their own food, medicinal herbs, and establishing Shabbat fellowships. What have we been instructed to do? We've been instructed to take this good news into the nations. Not the good news of grace only that we grew up in, but a good news that says we're saved through faith in the atoning work of our Messiah. But this is how we get blessing, through his Torah. His Torah was given for blessing and cursing. Yeshua, dying on the cross, he redeemed us from the curse, which is a beautiful verse. But he didn't redeem us from the blessings, did he? So we are free now to obey him from our heart without worrying about the mess-ups, because he's got that covered. We don't have to absorb the curses if we are in the sign. Would you agree? When Wendy and I came back home from Kenya, it took like forever, but when we walked into our double-wide mobile home, I can still remember sitting there on that couch. Every African we ran into thought that anybody from the West had money rolling out their ears. Little did they know. In my mobile home, I felt like one of the richest people in the world. My whole life, I had not missed a meal, 3 meals a day, unless I chose to miss one. And many in the world do not have that opportunity. We love that our training center, and even the one in Kenya, they're teaching people how to live when there's not a plan B like we have in America. They can grow their food, they can grow their medicine, they can have an income, and it gets them rolling. It's not handouts. Handouts have not helped them. We as Americans, I'm sure you'd agree, we won the birth lottery. Like I said before, we didn't have any say in being born here all the time. We just popped here. We were just here, out of nowhere. And we could have easily, the odds were great that we would have been somewhere part of that 62%. Would you agree? I mean, it's logical. But I don't believe that Yahweh has given us the blessings to hold, knowing that people are suffering. How many of you in your fellowship have a Torah-observant missionary that you sponsor with prayer or financial assistance? Oh, there are some. You do count. That's good. But yeah, several. But most do not. Would you agree that there's not many Torah-observant missionaries out there? Do you know any personally? Do you know any Torah observant missionaries? I know a couple. They're very, but would you agree, just like in Christendom, they're remnant? Yes, and they have a special message. Can one person make a difference? How many have seen the Mully movie? The Mully movie. Mully is about this guy in Kenya that had a heart for orphans, and he starts bringing. He was rich beyond words. And he grew up on the street. Yeah, he was an orphan himself. Oh, and that's the miracle of that story, is that he was going house to home. His family left him, and he was walking, and later interviewed his dad who left him and stuff. But finally, someone gave him a chance to show that he was worth something. They gave him a job on the farm. He starts running the place. I mean, these are treasures that are hidden amongst the poor. So he takes over, he starts collecting wealth, and he's got, after a while, he's got oil, transportation, he's got taxis, he's got money, he's got everything that you think somebody would want. And then one day, God broke him. He put Mully on heart surgery, and he gave everything. He came home and he told his family, I'm not earning another dollar. I'm giving it up. And we're going to start taking care of him. So he starts using the money that he had saved to take care of orphans. They kept bringing them in, just filling his house. And out of faith in God alone, he starts moving into different places. And I think today he has like 15,000 kids that he adopted. They are his children. Isn't that incredible? But it just shows what a heart like that has true faith in God, how he can move. There was another movie we saw recently, Cabrini. Have any of y'all heard of Cabrini? It was about a Catholic saint woman. She also had a heart for orphans, and they sent her in to deal with immigrant orphans from the Italian immigration and stuff, and she just took off with it. And she said that the world was not big enough for her vision. I mean, it was an incredible story. And even after her death, it just went on and on, what the people ran with her vision. A world changer that dealt with one person at a time, just a small group. We realize that everyone, like I said before, can't go overseas or leave here. Even if you've got a heart to do it, some people just can't do it. But we want to make you aware that there's two kinds of people. There's the sent, and then there's the senders, the people that help people go. Traditionally, missionaries were supported and sent via churches, sent to give a gospel message rooted in mainstream Christian doctrine. Is that the truth that Yeshua wanted us to take to the nations? So who will send and sponsor the Torah observant missionary? Who is willing to go where he sends you? The director of our facility and training center in Liberia, Pastor Ernest, we wanted him here. We tried all we could to get him here for this Sukkoth. He would have been an awesome person for you to heard. Awesome pastor. He started like 30 churches. He's Pentecostal like me. He served as a national missions director. He took his district from 8 churches to 54. Implemented training protocols for raising up missionaries that have implemented 700 churches. He is our boots on the ground in that area. He met Wendy and some other Torah observant believers in Kenya. He went there for the training at their center to learn how to grow food and medicines and stuff. And when he got there, he saw this different group of Christians that he had never ran into before. He knew his Bible in and out, but these people didn't really care about Sunday worship. They set Saturday apart, Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown. The men at least had tzitzit on, and they were talking about a gospel, about a Messiah, like they had never heard before. And Ernest started absorbing it fast as they could talk. He was up front and just listening to every word, and he got on fire. Today, in Tabata, Liberia, he has a Shabbat service. He's really tied into the Assemblies of God, so he does do some work there. He just can't find a place that he can draw a line. But I told him, I said, as long as you're honoring Sabbath, that doesn't matter. You know, churches, we tend to, as Messianic or Torah observant believers, many shun or look at negatively at churches, but churches introduce people to the Messiah. The same way I did. I learned of it. I didn't have perfect truth, but I learned of it as a taught him word, and I was saved through faith in my Messiah, which was an awesome thing. But they need to hear that there is a different way, there's a way to receive blessing and to be a blessing, and that's what Pastor Ernest is doing there. We recently had a work class. How many was in there? 5 or 6? That training, the last training, 6. And these students came from villages that had never heard the gospel. Never. That's just weird to think about. I worked with a guy on the solar field named Jesus. He's from Cuba. So, you know, if you're a believer, it shouldn't take you a month to realize it. Well, that first day he worked with us, I saw his phone and he had a picture of some kind of Jesus picture on there. And so we hit it off talking, he was on fire, but he said, Dave, I never heard the name Jesus until I was like 25 years old. That's amazing to me that someone, you would think it'd be everywhere by now. But he said it was such an atheist country, and someone finally presented him with the gospel, and he absorbed it. Pastor Ernest is an incredible guy, and what he's doing is what we say. He's engaged, he's boots on the ground that we support, that engages his community. When I left there, after I met him, I made a video. I teared up, and I said, I can count on my hand, with fingers missing, the number of truly self-sacrificing, godly men I've had the honor of working with, and he's one of them. He's given up so much in his life. The rest of his family immigrated to America, and he could have done it during the Civil War. They came here, and we met them in Minnesota. He chose to sacrifice this life for the next. He stayed there to help his countrymen. An awesome brother. He's got a farm and he raises food, and he's got a truck. He had a truck at the time that was just beat up and barely, it was a diesel, but I was amazed it was still running. But he would stop, as he went, he would gather young men from the street to help, to harvest the food, and he paid them out of the proceeds to give them something to do, to engage them. And Pastor Ernest, I've never seen someone so respected, not only in his own city and country, county, but even in government. It's crazy what this guy has done. I mean, he introduced us to everybody in the highest level of government, but the president himself, who was off somewhere, he didn't have time for it. But he's got ties with everything. Not that that's important. I would rather talk to men that were godly. And we met some of them. There were some great men in government. But what a great Torah observant director of our center we have. And he is just, I wish I could have met him, but he's incredible. For everyone who calls on the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without one proclaiming? And how shall they proclaim if they are not sent? As it is written, how pleasant are the feet of those who bring the good news of peace, who bring the good news of the gospel, as we read in Romans 10. In the end, the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few. In closing, I wanted to ask, do any of y'all have a heart to go or to send others? Raise your hand if you do. If you have a heart to help people go or to go yourself. Maybe there's young people here. They're in transition. They wonder what to do, but they feel a calling. If that's you, then I'm going to pray for you, but if you'd like more specific prayer, at the end, come forward and we will pray specifically for you and talk to you individually. Father, in the name of our awesome Messiah, Yeshua, I thank you for this opportunity to speak for the poor, to share the awesome heart surgery you did on Wendy and me. That changed us forever. That gave us a heart to let us see that there was a lot of people in the world that needed help, and that you are watching. You see inside of us. We can't fake things with you. You see to the inside, the hidden things of the heart. Father, thank you for those listening here today for this awesome feast. That they would also have a heart for the poor, even if they can't go, to help. Be it with Vintage Skills International or some other organization that is not just giving handouts, but engaged with boots on the ground there. People that can get to know and love and suffer with the people that are there. Thank you for these here. Their heart, this word. I pray that you go with us through the rest of this week. You are so beyond words. My awesome Messiah. Thank you, Yeshua, for being our high priest, interceding for us, for doing the work of Passover. All the spring feasts, men seen you do it, fulfill those with our eyes. And we know you'll fulfill the fall feast somewhere in the future. We speculate on how it will play out, just like they did the spring feast. But we know it's going to be played out beautifully. We look forward to you, our great King, tabernacling among us, walking with us. What a beautiful, beautiful day that will be. Blessed are you. Thank you. In the name of our Messiah, Yeshua, we pray. Amen. Shalom. May y'all have a great feast. Okay. Thank you.
It's on my heart for you to extend your hands to this couple and we pray for them, okay? Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We thank you for missionaries like this couple that go where you send them, that are obedient to the call, that have ears to hear and hearts to receive what you want them to do. So, Father, I ask you would richly bless them, you would keep them safe, they'd be able to fulfill the complete number of days you have given them for this assignment. And Father, we not just pray for them, but we pray for all the other missionaries who are out there propagating your word and your truth. We ask you to raise up people in the way to talk about the word, the way it was written, the way it was given, the very heart, your heart, Father, to the world. And time is short, so Father, would you please bring more. And just anoint them to continue their work in the fullness of what you have for them. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.